Okay. Hi, guys. So I really wanted to go over a few updates that are released now in the community version 2024.2. So I'm not going to go over each and every one because there's quite a few updates, but I really want to go over a few of my favorite ones and to show you how they actually work. So yeah, just let's go. So first of all, like you can always find all the information about the new releases of UiPath Studio and the rest of the tools on the official documentation and on the community forum as well. So if you are into like researching and find out new ways to improve your implementation, I think that the UiPath forum is the best place. Everyone is using it, and like there is a big community that you can join, and like people will help you. So yeah, I highly recommend using. I highly recommend using community forums. Okay, so we are currently on the page of the release, and we can see that there are a few stuff. So I'm going to go over each of them, like not going to go over each of them, but we're going to talk about bookmarks. So the bookmarks are a new feature that we can use in our automations, which are actually really cool and really useful. So, like previously, we had breakpoints, we could have annotations, but both breakpoints and annotation, like they kind of impact our automation, and bookmarks don't. They don't impact our automation. I think that they are going to be so helpful during the code reviews because imagine like how do you do code reviews right now? You send in the file, or in best case scenario, you have a Git, and then you send in a file, and then basically you someone analyze that files and return to you like the code and the comments in Excel mentioning which workflow has certain updates that needs to be done, right? So instead of this, like the person who is reviewing, even the bot, can make bookmarks, and based on those bookmarks, we can easily track what needs to be done. So they are in breakpoints, and you can see that the bookmarks in here, and you can also place messages in bookmarks. So it will be really useful to have it in a large and complex automation such as like framework. So yeah, that is definitely the first update that I really like. The second update is a really quick one. So if you turn your attention to the forum, you can see that ribbon layout. Now you can minimize the ribbon layout, which is really cool because I have always like needed extra space because I don't actually use monitors. So you can click on the ribbon layout, you can click on simplified ribbon, and all the tabs, like I know them by heart, but all the upper activities are going to be minimized, which gives you extra space to work on, which is really great. So if you want to minimize everything, you can potentially minimize everything and then have the extra space to work on it. Uh, it's cool. I like it, but I really like my properties to be always here and my output because that is where my logs are. So, but this is something that I could work with, and which would basically enable me to have a larger canvas to work with. So yeah, let's go back on. I mean, we can minimize this as well, but I like projects. I don't know why. I have a slight OCD. Yeah, so that is the second, like, smaller update that has been released, which is really cool, and I really like how, like, they're thinking about, like, small stuff like that. So the second big update that has been released is with the Deserialized JSON activities. Uh, what is this? So basically, if you want to use, I'm switching back to classical ribbons, but like if you want to test this, you would need to go and you would need to install the Web API activity package, and the new package is 1.19 preview, and that preview will have the new Deserialized JSON activity. And how does this work? Now this is something really cool, and this is some like this is the proper way that UiPath is going, and I really like it. And it's that you can put the JSON sample, and you can then create your own custom object, JSON object, and that JSON object will have all the properties of your JSON sample. So you can basically just click through everything and you will have like your JSON. You have its properties. So you wouldn't have to go and like write down some complex queries to get to your like destination, because you can often like have typos in those. You can just put in the sample and then the object is going to be generated. So in here on the screen, you can see that I have put a sample. Let me get that and let me paste it in here. So in here, you can see this is a sample response from ChatGPT. So this is something that ChatGPT is giving us back. So I need to access my choices, I need to access my message, and I need to access my content. And previously, I would always use like that. Like I would use JSON object, and then I would type in something like choices, and then I would type in maybe I would get the first index of those because it is an array. Then I would get the message, and then I would get the content. So the problem is that I always like mess up choices. I always type it in a wrong format. So it's something that I really like. The update is something that I really like actually. So basically, let's remove this and I'll show you. You can see in here, uh, not this one, but this Deserialized JSON. So let's click on the activity. Now you need to create the object like with a shortcut, because every time that every object is going to be a different uh, variable type, because they're created based on the JSON sample that you're providing. So if we click Control K, we can specify the name, for example, GPT response object, and you will see that it says Deserialized JSON and it's like 86F269, something that basically is representing this thing. And now that we are in here, we can click GPT response, and once we click, we can see that we have all the properties that we can basically click through. So I need my choices, right? I need the first choice, then I need my messages, and then I need my content. So based on the clicking, you can select what is basically the message that you want to extract. So like this is much more simple than using this. It is still a little bit clunky, but it is pretty useful. It is pretty useful for some automation that are using JSON object, which is basically array automation. Okay. And now the third update that I really like is that if we define, so sorry, let me go back to the UiPath community. We went over Deserialized JSON, and now get transaction item with new specific data output properties. So what is this update? The activity will now generate a specific data output property for any queue item that is configured with a specific data JSON schema. So this is really cool, because based on the schema, our activity is going to generate us some fields. So for example, if we use schema such as this, so you can see that we need the ID, and like using the schema in queue is something that I didn't practice, but since this update and since like reading about this update, I found it really useful, because it is so cool. It is speeding up everything so fast. So basically, if we upload the schema into our specific data schema property, and this is basically the queue property, the bot will know what are the fields that needs to be implemented, right? So that the first thing that would like help us is once we use add queue items, and if we find that queue, okay, and if we go to the information, we will exactly know what are the fields that we need to populate, and this is so cool. this is so much faster, and like I often miss click or like miss something about this, and this is really cool. I didn't know about this. Like I didn't have the experience. I saw them, I saw the schema, but I didn't really go into details. So this is so cool. And if you add like a property that is outside the zone, it is going to throw an exception if your schema is defined in that way. So if your schema is defined in a way that additional properties are set to true, you can add in additional properties. So that's the first thing. And now, how do we use the new activities? So if we go back to the forum, we can see that like it gives you an instant access to your queue items. So in here we'll have a get transaction item, and you can see that in here we have a specific data property. So what is cool, and I know that not a lot of people are using this, but UiPath is now generating you variables from each activity that can generate some output, right? So you don't need to generate you don't need to generate anything for yourself. So you can just click like control space and you can select that and it's going to be generated. It's not transaction item, sorry. It's the specific data. So specific data is this one, specific data. You can find it in here, or you can just access it through here, I guess. Yeah, you can access it through here, and once you access it through here, it is going to be populated. And it is basically, you can click on it, you can click on specific data, and now you can see I have an email, first name, gender, ID, IP, address, last name, and skill. So these are all the properties that I have in my schema. So you can see that my schema is defined in a way that it has an ID, it has a first name, it has a last name, it has an email, and it's properties like this. So this is really cool because like how usually I did some of this like in live projects, we didn't use the schema property, but we had some like if the project is starting with some Excel automation, like the business needs to fill out some Excel files. So we will either define the rules on Excel and like limit the business in some way, or we would have different codes or different snippets to validate the business data, and we would throw in a business exception if some data is not configured properly. But with schema, you can like create rules in the JSON schema, which you can generate with GPT, which is really fast and that can speed up your implementation. And if you place the schema, you can like during inserting the elements, you will exactly know what you need to insert, and doing like getting the information from a transaction, you will have faster access to those properties. So this is really cool. I think that I'm always going to use this in my automation because it is going to speed up so many things. So yeah, check out the UiPath forums. They have a few more updates that I'm not going to cover, but check up UiPath forums, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.